Sophia had just slipped into the soothing embrace of her evening, relishing the rare stillness that pierced through the chaos of her bustling life. In the stillness of the night, the soft hum of the dishwasher filled the air, a gentle reminder of the day's end. The faint glow of the kitchen light cast shadows that danced around her, her only companions as she cradled her warm cup of tea, savoring the moment of solitude. The apartment exuded a tranquil aura, a sanctuary of serenity, until the jarring buzz of the doorbell pierced the stillness, sending a ripple of tension through the air. Her brow furrowed as she placed the mug down, the gentle clink echoing in the stillness. She stood alone, the silence wrapping around her like a heavy cloak, unaware that someone was about to shatter her solitude. Through the peephole, she caught a glimpse of her younger sister Luna, poised on the other side, a bright yet somewhat strained smile plastered across her face. Sophia paused, her fingers trembling as they hovered over the doorknob. Luna had a knack for appearing out of nowhere, but tonight her arrival sent a chill down the spine, casting an eerie shadow over the evening. Something in the way Luna's eyes flitted nervously around the hallway, the smile that lingered but never truly reached her gaze, sent a shiver down Sophia's spine, tightening her stomach with an unsettling sense of foreboding. As she swung the door wide, a rush of cool evening air swept in, enveloping her in a chilling embrace. "Luna," she said, her voice a blend of warmth and caution, as if treading carefully on fragile ground. "A twist away." Luna stepped inside, her energy crackling in the air like electricity. "I've been yearning for an escape," she exclaimed, her voice light yet filled with urgency as she swept past Sophia, a suitcase trailing behind her like a whisper of adventure. "I figured I'd settle in for a few days. Hope that's all right with you." Sophia struggled to maintain her smile, the weight of her unease pressing down on her like a heavy fog. "Absolutely. You are always welcome here." Luna burst into the apartment like a fierce gust of wind, shattering the delicate tranquility that had settled within its walls. Though she was 5 years Sophia's junior, her confidence and charisma radiated in such a way that it often felt as if she were the older sister, guiding and inspiring those around her. Luna's presence loomed large, a palpable force that enveloped the room, and Sophia sensed that this visit would be just as electrifying as the last. The relentless sound of the shower cascaded in the background, a steady hum that amplified the palpable tension in the apartment. Liam, Sophia's 19-year-old stepson, had returned home. Luna's eyes darted toward the sound, her curiosity ignited. "Is someone here?" she asked, her voice airy yet laced with an undercurrent that Sophia couldn't quite decipher. "Liam," Sophia responded with urgency, her voice unwavering even as a shiver of unease crept up her spine. "He's been living under my roof since... well, you understand." Luna nodded, her eyes fixated on the bathroom, a sense of anticipation hanging in the air. "How is he faring?" she inquired, her voice light yet her gaze piercing. Sophia paused, a storm of uncertainty swirling within her, grappling with the weight of her secrets. "Yes, adjusting," she said at last, her words measured and deliberate. "The struggle has weighed heavily on us both. For 2 long years, Sophia had fought to keep her blended family from unraveling after Daniel's departure. Each day was a battle, filled with the weight of responsibility and the echoes of what once was. The journey had been fraught with challenges. Liam, Daniel's son, from a past relationship, had taken up residence with her following the breakup, and from the very beginning, their connection had been laced with an undercurrent of tension. Sophia found herself ensnared in a web of tension, each encounter with him thick with unvoiced bitterness that hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. In the shadows of her own home, she grappled with a sense of alienation, a haunting reality she never expected to face after marrying Daniel. The air was thick with tension, a palpable divide forged by Liam's silent rebellion and her own doubts as a stepmother, a rift that felt insurmountable. He exuded a calm politeness that masked the storm brewing beneath the surface. Yet far away, his teenage detachment intensified by the chaos that had engulfed their lives. Sophia reached out, her heart pounding with hope, but with each tentative step, it seemed the chasm between them only widened, pulling them into deeper shadows. Luna glided into the living room, her steps fluid and instinctive, as if the space itself welcomed her presence. "This place feels frozen in time," she whispered, tracing her finger along the edge of the coffee table, memories flooding back with each touch. Sophia trailed behind her, a sense of dread tightening in her chest. "Yeah, well, I haven't had much time for redecorating," she said, her voice laced with a weary resignation. Luna's laughter rang out, a light and melodic sound that danced through the air, yet it did nothing to alleviate the tight knot of tension coiling within Sophia. She settled onto the couch, legs crossed, her gaze lifting to Sophia, a playful spark dancing in her eyes. "So, what's been happening in your world?" Sophia let out a heavy sigh as she settled into the chair opposite her. "The days have blurred together, consumed by the relentless tide of work. You understand the grind, the way it pulls you under, leaving little room for anything else." Suddenly, the air was pierced by the abrupt silence that followed the shower's final sputter, leaving an electric tension hanging in the room. Sophia's eyes darted to the hallway, her heart racing with anticipation. A shiver ran down her spine at the mere thought of Liam and Luna sharing the same space, an unsettling feeling she couldn't quite place. "So, Liam's here," Luna said, her tone nonchalant, yet her eyes pierced through the air with intensity. "How's that unfolding for you?" Sophia shrugged, her shoulders coiled tight with unspoken tension. "It's complicated," she said at last, her voice barely above a whisper. Luna nodded, her expression a tapestry of contemplation. "I bet," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. Luna had always been the kind of person who leaped into action before the thoughts could catch up. Once Sophia slipped away to her room, the house fell into a hushed stillness, and Luna seized the moment to step into the shower. With a swift motion, she snatched a towel from the linen closet, her footsteps echoing softly as she glided toward the bathroom. A gentle hum escaping her lips, the door stood slightly ajar, a silent invitation, and she pushed it open, her heart racing with anticipation. The scene before her froze her in place, a moment suspended in time. Liam stood before the sink, the towel draped low around his hips, a figure caught in a moment of stillness, the air thick with anticipation. He stood paralyzed, his breath hitching in his throat as disbelief washed over him, his gaze locked onto Luna's reflection in the mirror. In that fleeting instant, time seemed to stand still, and neither of them dared to break the silence. Luna's breath hitched in her throat, her gaze sweeping over him, absorbing the shocking revelation before her. Liam's cheeks burned with a deep crimson hue as he swiftly averted his gaze, his hands clumsily grappling with the towel in a desperate attempt to regain his composure. "My apologies," Liam's words faltered, his voice heavy with the weight of humiliation. "Little did I know someone would step through the door." Luna's initial shock transformed into a spark of something else, a glimmer of amusement, or perhaps a hint of mischief lurking beneath the surface. She pressed herself against the doorframe, a sly smile playing on her lips, hinting at secrets untold. "Well, this is awkward," she said, a playful glint in her eyes. Liam's eyes flickered toward her, a wary tension coiling through his body. I'll get out of here, he muttered, his fingers trembling as they grasped for his clothes. Luna edged forward, each step measured and purposeful, as if the air around her crackled with anticipation. "Take your time," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's no reason for you to feel ashamed." Liam's eyes widened, a wave of discomfort washing over him. "Luna, But before he could finish, she interrupted him with a soft laugh, her hand gliding against his arm in a gesture that sent a shiver down his spine, both soothing and unsettling. "Relax, Liam," she said, her voice airy, yet her eyes bore into him with an unwavering intensity. "It's merely a touch of playful banter." Her gaze dropped, a smile spreading across her face as she caught sight of his response to the unfolding drama. Well, she whispered, her fingers gliding over the subtle contours of his chest, igniting a spark of tension in the air. "It seems that a hint of anxiety is creeping in." Liam's breath caught in his throat, his body tensing at the sensation of her touch. "Luna, don't." She silenced him softly, her fingers gliding lower, barely brushing the edge of his towel. "It's okay," she whispered, her voice a gentle caress, yet resolute. "Only we remain." For a heartbeat, Liam stood still, ensnared in a web of embarrassment and an electrifying tension that sent his pulse racing and his thoughts spiraling into chaos. Just as he was about to respond, Luna slipped away, retreating with a teasing grin that danced in her eyes. "I'll let you finish up," she said, her tone slipping back into casualness, as if the weight of the moment had never existed. She pivoted sharply and strode out of the bathroom, leaving Liam frozen in place, his thoughts spiraling into chaos. The following morning, the apartment was enveloped in an eerie stillness, a silence that thrummed with unvoiced anticipation. Sophia lingered in the kitchen, her coffee mug cradled in her hands, her gaze darting between Luna and Liam, who sat at the breakfast table, their conversation a quiet storm brewing in the air. Luna moved with an effortless grace, a soft hum escaping her lips as she spread butter on her toast. In stark contrast, Liam sat rigidly, his gaze fixed on the swirling depths of his cereal bowl, tension radiating from his hunched shoulders. Sophia struggled to shatter the heavy silence that enveloped the room. "What adventures await you two today?" Luna shrugged, her voice laced with an air of nonchalance. "Not much. Perhaps I'll venture into the neighborhood. It has been ages since I last roamed these streets." Liam whispered a string of incomprehensible words, the spoon in hand clattering softly against the bowl, echoing the tension in the air. Sophia's brow furrowed, a wave of unease washing over her as she struggled to pinpoint the cause of the tension in the air. "Liam, are you all right?" she inquired, her voice laced with curiosity. He nodded swiftly, his eyes darting away from hers, as if the weight of her stare was too much to bear. "I'm utterly drained." Sophia let out a heavy sigh, choosing to let the matter rest for now. With a swift motion, she seized her bag and made her way to the door, anticipation coursing through her veins. With a playful tone, she announced, "All right, I'm heading to work now. You two behave." But her gaze held a weight as it lingered on Luna. Luna smiled, her expression a mask of innocence, concealing the secrets that danced behind her eyes. "We'll be fine, Sophia. Trust me, there's nothing to worry about." As the door clicked shut behind Sophia, an electric tension enveloped the apartment, transforming the air into something thick and charged. Liam collapsed onto the couch, his fingers mindlessly flicking through the TV channels, each one more uninviting than the last. Luna, in stark contrast, appeared to awaken with a vibrant energy. She glided through the house in a short summer dress, each movement fluid and intentional, as if she were dancing to an unspoken rhythm. As she bent down to gather the scattered magazines, her movements were fluid and purposeful. She fluffed the cushions on the couch, arranging them just so, and meticulously straightened the picture frames that adorned the walls. All the while, Liam struggled to divert his gaze, his attempts to ignore her proving futile. For a moment, Luna halted in front of the TV, obstructing Liam's view. She tilted her head, a playful smile dancing on her lips, hinting at mischief. "You've been unusually silent today," she remarked, her tone airy, yet her gaze piercing. Liam shrugged, his eyes glued to the flickering screen of the TV, as if the world around him had faded into oblivion. There's a silence that hangs in the air, heavy and unyielding, as if the words themselves are trapped, waiting for the right moment to break free. Luna edged forward, lowering herself until her face hovered mere inches from his. "Is that really everything there is to it?" She leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "You appear to be somewhat charged with anticipation." Liam's jaw clenched, a storm brewing behind his eyes as he shifted restlessly, the tension palpable in the air. "I'm fine." Luna let out a soft, melodic laugh, her posture shifting as she straightened up, a glimmer of mischief in her eyes. "Relax, Liam," she whispered, her presence a fleeting shadow as she brushed past him. Her hand rested on his shoulder, a heartbeat stretching into eternity, as if the world around them had faded away. "I'm merely playing with you," Liam breathed out, his heart pounding fiercely as Luna slipped further from his grasp. She carried on with her tasks, each movement slow and deliberate, as though she were performing for an unseen audience. Occasionally, her gaze would flicker toward him, a radiant smile blossoming on her lips whenever their eyes met. As the hours slipped by, the air thickened with an unspoken tension that crackled between them, silent yet inescapable. As Sophia stepped through the door that evening, the warm glow of the kitchen welcomed her. Luna stood at the counter, skillfully chopping vegetables for dinner, while Liam lounged at the table, his gaze locked onto the screen of his phone, oblivious to the world around him. "What was the tale of your day?" Sophia inquired, her bag thudding softly against the ground as she paused, anticipation flickering in her eyes. Luna cast a quick glance over her shoulder, her smile radiating with an infectious brightness. "It was an ordinary day, spent lingering in this familiar space, time slipping by unnoticed." Liam muttered a vague reply, his gaze fixated on the screen of his phone, oblivious to the world around him. Sophia's brow furrowed, an instinctive awareness of the charged atmosphere enveloping her. Yet the origin of that unease eluded her grasp. The three of them gathered around the dinner table, an uneasy silence hanging in the air, the conversation faltering like a flickering candle in the dark. Sophia attempted to draw them into conversation, but Luna's replies were elusive, and Liam remained shrouded in silence. Under the table, Luna's fingers brushed against Liam's thigh, a feather-light caress that was both intentional and charged with unspoken tension. He tensed, the fork clattering against the plate as he fought to keep his composure intact. Sophia shot him a piercing look, her brow knitting together in concern. "Is everything all right, Liam?" He nodded sharply, his voice taut with tension. "Yes, I'm all right." Luna's hand ascended, her fingers playfully brushing against the edge of his pants. Liam's breath caught in his throat as he shifted uneasily in his seat, a deep crimson spreading across his cheeks. Sophia remained blissfully unaware of the unfolding chaos around her, her gaze locked onto her plate as she savored each bite, lost in her own world. Luna's eyes darted to Liam, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. She leaned in, her voice a gentle whisper, yet tinged with a playful spark. Liam's jaw clenched, his gaze flickering to her with a mix of caution and intensity. "I'm fine," he said, though the strain in his voice betrayed the truth. Luna's hand hesitated, suspended in the air, before she finally withdrew it, her face a mask of tranquility as she redirected her gaze to Sophia. "So, Sophia, how did your day unfold at work?" Sophia let out a deep sigh, her voice weaving a tale of her day, oblivious to the undercurrents of tension that crackled in the air around her. As the last bite of dinner faded into memory, the guests slowly dispersed, each one slipping away into the shadows of their rooms. The refrigerator's faint hum pierced the stillness of the night, a solitary sound in the enveloping darkness. Liam sprawled on his back, sheets ensnaring his legs, the day's burdens settling over him like a heavy shroud. The door creaked ominously, a subtle protest from the weary hinges, and he snapped his head around, alert and tense. Luna lingered in the doorway, the faint light from the hallway casting her silhouette in an ethereal glow. Her nightshirt, delicate and smooth, embraced her like the soft glow of moonlight, undulating with each breath she drew. Her hair cascaded wildly over her shoulders, a chaotic halo framing her face, while her lips curled into a smile that danced between playful mischief and a shadowy allure. "Hey," she whispered, her voice barely above a murmur, as if she were confiding a hidden truth. Liam blinked, his mind reeling at the sight of her. "What brings you to this place?" As she crossed the threshold, the door clicked ominously shut behind her, sealing her fate within. She couldn't sleep, her head tilting slightly, as if sharing a secret that was both ordinary and extraordinary all at once. "I knew you wouldn't be able to either." He fixed his gaze on her, his throat tight and parched. "I'm fine." Her laughter floated through the air, a gentle sigh that thickened the atmosphere around them. "Of course you are," she replied, her voice laced with a teasing edge. She crept closer, her bare feet whispering against the carpet, and perched on the edge of his bed, the mattress sinking slightly beneath her presence. Liam's pulse raced, a relentless drumbeat echoing in his ears. Luna stood at the edge of the world, her heart racing with anticipation. The air crackled with energy, and the shadows whispered secrets only she could hear. Every step she took felt like a leap into the unknown, a dance with destiny that beckoned her forward. What lay ahead was a mystery, but one thing was certain. Luna was ready to embrace it all. "Relax," she murmured, her fingers gliding over his arm as if soothing a frightened creature. "All I seek is your assistance to let go, nothing more." Before he could voice his objections, she gracefully settled onto the bed beside him, her body extending with a tantalizing pause. She shifted, her leg brushing against his, and Liam felt a jolt of electricity surge through him, his breath catching in his throat. The warmth of her skin radiated through the delicate fabric of his shirt, igniting a fire within him that he couldn't comprehend. His body responded instinctively to her proximity, betraying his mind's desperate attempts to maintain control. As her head turned, her gaze pierced through the air, locking onto his with an intensity that sent shivers down their spines. "You're wound so tight," she murmured, her voice a sultry whisper that danced through the air. "Allow me to set that right." Her hand glided to his chest, fingers weaving slow, deliberate patterns over the fabric of his shirt. Liam's heart raced, his thoughts swirling chaotically like leaves caught in a tempest. "Luna," he began, his voice trembling with uncertainty. With a single piercing gaze, she rendered him mute, her eyes challenging him to speak against her will. Her fingers glided lower, slipping beneath the waistband of his boxers, and in that moment, Liam's entire existence shrank to the electrifying sensation of her touch. Her touch was steady yet unhurried, each movement purposeful, as if she had danced this dance 1,000 times before. Liam's jaw tightened, his fingers digging into the sheets, seeking a tether to reality. "Is it improved?" she inquired, her voice airy, yet her eyes bore the weight of unspoken truths. Silence enveloped him, a heavy shroud that rendered him voiceless. His body was a taut wire, each nerve igniting with electric intensity at her presence. Luna leaned in closer, her breath a tantalizing warmth brushing against his ear. "Let go," she whispered, her voice a gentle yet powerful command that hung in the air. Liam felt his grip slip away, his spine bending in a desperate arc, breath hitching in his throat as he reached the pinnacle of his desire. She moved with a steady determination, neither pausing nor hurrying. Her touch was unwavering, leading him deeper into the experience, until he finally fell back onto the mattress, breathless and gasping. Luna jolted upright, her hand slipping from its grasp. Her smile curled at the corners, a subtle lift that sent a jolt of unease through Liam's stomach. "Sleep well?" she whispered, her voice a soft, soothing melody that wrapped around him like a warm blanket. She rose, the fabric of her nightshirt brushing softly against her skin, and made her way to the door. She halted, casting a fleeting glance over her shoulder at him. As the night deepened, a gentle whisper floated through the air. "Sweet dreams, Liam." The words hung like a soft lullaby, wrapping around him like a warm embrace, inviting him into the realm of slumber where adventures awaited. The door clicked shut, plunging him into an enveloping darkness, a silence that pressed against him like a weight. As the sun streamed through the kitchen window, the notion of retreating to the summer house emerged amidst the clinking of cutlery and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Luna sat at the kitchen table, a piece of toast clutched in one hand while her phone flickered with notifications in the other. She lifted her gaze to Sophia, curiosity sparking in her eyes. "What do you think we should embark on today?" she inquired, her tone airy yet ignited by a glimmer of mischief dancing in her gaze. Sophia leaned against the counter, her coffee mug cradled in her hands, an eyebrow arched in intrigue. "What is that?" Luna's smile widened, a spark of mischief dancing in her eyes. "Let's escape to the summer house. It feels like an eternity since we last set foot there, and today promises to be the ideal day for a plunge into the pool." Sophia paused, her gaze flickering to Liam, who sat in silence at the table, his bowl of cereal still untouched, a stillness hanging in the air between them. Uncertainty hung in the air, a heavy shroud that clouded every thought. The answer eluded me, slipping through my fingers like sand, leaving only a sense of bewilderment in its wake. A mountain of work looms ahead, waiting to be conquered. Luna let out an exasperated sigh, her eyes narrowing in disbelief. "Hurry up, Sophia. When was the last time you allowed yourself a day of freedom? For weeks, the weight of your work has pressed down on you, suffocating and relentless. This is essential. Every one of us does." Liam shifted in his seat, an unsettling tension coiling within him, as his eyes locked onto the table, every detail of its surface magnified in his mind. "I'm fine here," he muttered, his voice barely breaking the silence that enveloped him. Luna turned to him, her smile blossoming like a flower in the sun. "Liam, you're not staying behind. You're coming with us." Silence reigned, an unspoken agreement hanging in the air. "It promises to be an exhilarating adventure." Sophia let out a heavy sigh, her coffee mug clinking softly against the table as she set it down. "Very well, then. However, we won't be spending the night. A fleeting escape for the day." Luna's hands came together with a sharp crack, her excitement radiating through the air like electricity. "Flawless. I'll prepare the cooler." 1 hour later, they found themselves on the winding road, the summer house looming just a short drive ahead, anticipation crackling in the air. The journey unfolded in a profound silence, thick with unvoiced tension that hung in the air like a storm waiting to break. Luna lounged in the passenger seat, her fingers dancing over her phone's screen, a soft hum escaping her lips as the radio played its familiar tune. Sophia's gaze locked onto the winding road ahead, her fingers gripping the steering wheel with an intensity that mirrored the storm brewing within her. Liam lingered in the back seat, headphones resting on his ears. Silent and still, his eyes locked onto the fleeting shadows of trees racing past the window. As they stepped onto the familiar grounds, the summer house loomed before them, a vivid echo of Sophia's memories. A pristine cottage, its whitewashed walls gleaming under the sun, boasted a wraparound porch that invited whispers of secrets and laughter. The pool shimmered like a jewel, reflecting the golden rays, beckoning all who passed by to dive into its refreshing embrace. The warm air enveloped her, the intoxicating aroma of pine trees and rich earth flooding her senses. Luna burst from the car, her energy radiating like a beacon, drawing everyone in with its vibrant intensity. With a burst of energy, she snatched the cooler from the trunk and made her way to the pool, her laughter echoing in the air as she playfully dipped her toes into the inviting water. Sophia trailed behind, her footsteps measured as she clutched a bag filled with towels and sunscreen, the weight of her burden a reminder of the adventure that lay ahead. She unfurled a towel on one of the lounge chairs, tilting her face toward the sun, basking in its warm embrace. "This is nice," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. "Exactly what we were looking for." Liam stood by the car, his hands buried deep in his pockets, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "I'll just hang out here," he said, his voice laced with uncertainty. Luna cast a sidelong glance at him, a sly smile playing on her lips. "Come on, Liam. You can't just stay in the car all day, can you?" He shrugged, his eyes darting toward the shimmering surface of the pool. "Perhaps another time." Luna emerged from the pool, droplets cascading from her vibrant red bikini as she strode toward him, each step charged with an electric anticipation. With a towel in hand, she moved with a measured grace, her eyes locked onto his face, each moment stretching into an eternity. "You should get in," she urged, her tone airy yet her gaze piercing. The water glistened invitingly, a perfect mirror reflecting the sky above. Liam's head swayed slowly, a silent refusal echoing in the depths of his gaze. "I'm doing well." Luna let out a nonchalant shrug, the towel slipping from her fingers to land softly on the edge of the shimmering pool. "Do as you wish." She edged nearer, her skin grazing his as she stretched for the sunscreen resting on the table. Her skin, slick and cool from the water, ignited a spark that coursed through Liam's body, electrifying every nerve ending. "Can you assist me with this?" With a steady hand, she extended the bottle toward Sophia, her eyes glinting with unspoken secrets. Sophia grasped it tightly, her eyes narrowing as she scrutinized the label. "Absolutely." With a gentle squeeze, she dispensed the lotion into her palms, the silky texture gliding between her fingers as she began to massage it into Luna's shoulders. Luna tilted her head, surrendering to the moment, as Sophia's hands glided the lotion over her skin, each stroke a whisper of warmth and care. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely breaking the silence. Sophia's smile was warm, her fingers gliding gently down Luna's back, a tender connection sparking between them. Absolutely no issue at all. Luna's eyes shot open, her gaze ensnared by Liam's intense stare. "You should help too," she said, her voice laced with a teasing edge, yet her gaze burned with an unwavering intensity. Liam's heart raced, a sudden jolt of adrenaline coursing through him. Luna laughed, her voice ringing out like a delicate melody, filling the air with a sense of joy. "Come on, Liam. Let your guard down." Sophia's eyes darted between them, a shadow of concern knitting her brow. "Watch your step around her," she teased, her voice playful, yet her gaze piercing. "She's a storm waiting to unleash chaos." Luna's grin widened, her eyes locked onto Liam's with an intensity that seemed to spark the air between them. "Isn't trouble just a thrill waiting to unfold?" Sophia completed the task of applying sunscreen, her fingers gliding over the bottle before she passed it back to Luna, the sun's rays glinting off the container as it changed hands. "And there it is." "Everything is in place." Luna grasped the bottle tightly, her smile blossoming like a flower as she pivoted to face Liam. "Now it's your moment to shine." Liam shook his head, his heart pounding in his chest. "I'm doing well, thank you." Luna let out a peal of laughter, the bottle clinking softly as she placed it down. "Do as you wish." She glided to the edge of the pool, each movement measured and intentional, as if the very air around her held its breath. She cast a furtive glance over her shoulder, a sly smile creeping across her lips. "What are you trying to say?" Luna's fingers danced to the back of her bikini top, deftly unhooking the clasp with a mix of anticipation and thrill. "What's the point of donning a swimsuit? We are all grown-ups now." Sophia's eyes widened in shock, but before she could utter a word, Luna let the top fall to the ground, her bare skin shimmering under the bright sunlight. Liam's breath hitched, his eyes flickering away as a rush of warmth surged through his cheeks. Luna's laughter rang out, a melody of lightness and freedom that danced through the air. "Relax, Liam," she said, her voice laced with playful mischief. "It's merely a layer, a fragile barrier that conceals the depths beneath." Sophia's gaze locked onto her sister, a whirlwind of shock and amusement swirling within her expression. "You're unbelievable," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. Luna's grin widened as she lifted her arms high above her head, a surge of energy coursing through her. "Life is a fleeting journey, and shyness only holds us back from the adventures that await." Sophia paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face. But then she shrugged off her top with a deliberate grace that exuded confidence. "If you can't beat him, join him," she said, her voice airy, yet a hint of uncertainty flickered behind her smile. Liam's eyes widened, darting between the two women, a storm of emotions brewing within him. He sensed he had crossed the threshold into an entirely different realm, a place where the ordinary laws of existence faded away, and the unimaginable became reality. Luna erupted into laughter, her hands coming together in a joyful clap. "That's the spirit," she declared, her eyes glinting with a playful mischief. The afternoon unfolded in a haze of golden sunlight and infectious laughter, yet an unspoken tension crackled just beneath the surface, waiting to erupt. Liam struggled to concentrate on the shimmering water, the sun's warmth enveloping him, desperately seeking distraction from the women beside him, their bare skin radiating like flawless marble under the bright light. Yet, despite his relentless efforts, an unsettling sensation clung to him, an awareness that an invisible barrier had crumbled, that the boundaries separating them had intertwined in a manner that was irrevocable. The evening air hung heavy with the mouth-watering aroma of grilled delicacies, mingling with the subtle, sharp scent of chlorine wafting from the shimmering pool. They gathered around the outdoor table, the flickering citronella candles illuminating their faces with a warm, golden glow. Dinner unfolded in a hushed atmosphere, where the soft clinking of cutlery against plates punctuated the heavy silence that enveloped the room. Liam sat with his shoulders hunched, his eyes flickering anxiously between Sophia and Luna, the tension in the air thick and suffocating. Luna, the embodiment of mischief, reclined in her chair, a glass of wine cradled in her hand. "Do you recall those days from our childhood, Sophia?" she inquired, her tone airy yet her gaze piercing. "You were the one who effortlessly drew the attention of every boy in the room." Sophia's laughter echoed in the air, but it carried an unsettling edge, as if it were a mask hiding her true feelings. "Oh, come on. You were the one who had them completely under your spell." Luna smirked, her eyes narrowing as they darted toward Liam, a spark of mischief igniting in the air between them. "Perhaps. Yet it was you who shattered a few hearts in those days." Liam shifted in his seat, the fork in his hand clattering against the plate, a sound that echoed his unease. "Must we really delve into this?" Luna turned away, her smile growing ever wider, a spark of mischief dancing in her eyes. "What holds you back?" "There's a thrill in looking back, a rush of nostalgia that sweeps over you like a tide, pulling you into the depths of cherished memories." Sophia's eyes flicked to Liam, a shadow of concern crossing her face. "Let's shift our focus, Luna. Your presence is unsettling him." Luna lifted her glass, the rich red liquid swirling as she took a slow, deliberate sip, her shoulders rising in a casual shrug that belied the storm brewing within her. "Very well. What do you say we dive into a game? A spark to lift the spirits?" Liam's gaze sharpened, a storm brewing within his depths. "What sort of game awaits us?" Luna's smile curled into something sly and mischievous. "Never have I ever ventured into the depths of the unknown. The timeless tale." Sophia let out a low groan, a flicker of amusement dancing in her voice. "Is that really you, Luna? We've left our teenage years behind." "Exactly," Luna said, her voice laced with playful mischief. "This promises to be far more captivating." Liam paused, his eyes darting back and forth between the two women, each moment stretching into an eternity. "I have my doubts." "Hurry up, Liam," Luna interjected, her tone airy yet unwavering. "Embrace the thrill of the unexpected." Sophia let out a heavy sigh, her body sinking into the chair as if the weight of the world pressed down upon her. "Very well, then. But heed my warning, Luna. I won't pull any punches." Luna's grin widened, her eyes glinting with a playful spark of mischief. "I'm not either." The game began with an air of innocence, as Luna posed questions that seemed harmless, like, "Never have I ever been late to work?" Sophia shot back, "Never have I ever forgotten someone's birth." Yet, the atmosphere changed swiftly, like a storm brewing on the horizon. Luna lifted her glass, the rich red liquid swirling as her eyes met Liam's, a charged silence enveloping them. "Never have I ever had a threesome," she declared, her tone nonchalant, yet her gaze pierced through the air with intensity. Sophia arched an eyebrow, her gaze flickering toward Luna, a silent question hanging in the air. "Is that really you, Luna?" "Luna?" Luna shrugged, a mischievous smirk spreading across her face. In the midst of uncertainty, the quest for truth begins. The air is thick with unspoken thoughts, and the heart races as the most pressing inquiries emerge. What lies beneath the surface? What secrets are waiting to be uncovered? The journey to find answers has only just begun. Liam stood motionless, his cheeks igniting with a deep crimson hue. His refusal to drink spoke volumes, a heavy silence that confirmed their unspoken fears. Luna's laughter danced through the air, a melody that shimmered with a hint of mischief. "It seems you stand alone in this crowd, Liam." Sophia's eyes flickered toward him, a storm of surprise and curiosity swirling in her gaze. "Well, that's intriguing." Unforeseen, Liam's hands tightened into fists beneath the table, a storm of unease swirling within him. Must we really go down this path? Luna leaned in, her elbows resting on the table, her eyes piercing into his with an intensity that demanded attention. "Why, it's just a game. Unless the stakes are higher than anyone could imagine." Her voice faded into the shadows, a sly smile creeping across her lips. Liam's jaw clenched, his gaze sharpening with intensity. What could possibly stand in the way? Luna's smirk deepened, a glint of mischief dancing in her eyes. "Unless a spark of curiosity ignites within you." Sophia's laughter danced nervously in the air, but within her gaze, a flicker of something deeper stirred, sending a twist of unease through Liam's stomach. "Luna, halt your steps. You're making him feel humiliated." Luna leaned back in her chair, a casual shrug escaping her shoulders as she surveyed the room with a mix of indifference and curiosity. "All right, but it's clear to everyone who's really pulling the strings in this situation." Liam's cheeks flushed with heat, his heart racing wildly within his chest. He yearned to escape, to distance himself from this conversation that felt like a tightening noose, yet he found himself frozen, unable to move or utter a single word. Luna's smile melted into something tender, yet her eyes glimmered with an intensity that pierced through the air. "You know, Liam, the enigma you believe you embody is far less elusive than you imagine." Liam's breath caught in his throat, his eyes darting to Sophia, who regarded him with a gaze that revealed nothing, a mystery wrapped in silence. Luna lifted her glass, the rich red liquid swirling as she took another sip. Her voice danced with a playful lilt, yet the sharpness of her words sliced through the air like a dagger. "What are you saying?" Luna's smile curled into a smug expression, her eyes locked onto Liam's face with an intensity that sent a shiver down his spine. "Oh, just a clandestine late-night rendezvous in his room. He's a revelation waiting to unfold." Liam felt a chill seep into his bones, his thoughts spiraling in a frantic whirlwind. He yearned to voice his dissent, to refute the accusation, yet the words lodged themselves in his throat, silencing him. Sophia's gaze locked onto Luna, a deep furrow forming on her brow. "What are you trying to say, Luna?" Luna shrugged, her voice nonchalant, yet her gaze burned with intensity. "Precisely what I expressed. As I slipped into his room last night, anticipation coursed through me, and I can assure you, it was everything I had hoped for." Sophia's eyes darted to Liam, her face a canvas of disbelief intertwined with an unsettling emotion that twisted in his gut. Could that really be true? Liam felt his throat tighten, his heart racing wildly within his chest. He stood there, paralyzed by uncertainty, words escaping him like shadows in the night. Luna's laughter danced through the air, a melody both light and tinged with mischief. "Don't hold back, Liam." Sophia simply intrigued. Sophia's eyes narrowed, her gaze piercing through the air as it locked onto Liam's. "Unveil it to me." Liam's breath hitched, a storm of thoughts swirling chaotically in his mind. What is happening? Sophia's expression was a mask of mystery, her voice cutting through the air with unwavering strength. Reveal it to me. I yearn to witness. Liam felt the ground shift beneath him, his heart racing as a deafening drumbeat echoed in his ears. He yearned to turn away, to escape. Yet the fierce intensity of Sophia's gaze anchored him to the spot. Luna's smile grew, her eyes glinting with a playful spark. Proceed, Liam. Do not leave us in suspense any longer. Liam's hands shook uncontrollably as he rose to his feet, his heart pounding in his chest. He was engulfed in a surreal haze, teetering on the edge of a dream and a nightmare. Sophia's eyes locked onto his, her face a canvas of curiosity, intertwined with a shadowy, primal intensity. Luna reclined in her chair, a self-satisfied smile playing on her lips, her eyes sparkling with a fierce sense of victory. The candles on the table flickered, their flames casting shadows that swirled and twirled across the walls, creating an eerie ballet of light and darkness. Liam perched on the couch, his body rigid, fingers clutching the edge of the cushions, as if preparing for an impending storm. Luna stood before him, her hips undulating to the haunting melody of a tune that existed solely in her mind. Her movements were measured and purposeful, reminiscent of a predator stalking its unsuspecting prey. Relax, Liam, she purred, her voice a sultry whisper that wrapped around him like a warm embrace. Your safety is assured. Oh, Sophia stood at the edge of the room, her arms tightly crossed, a storm of thoughts brewing within her. Her expression danced between curiosity and uncertainty, a silent battle of emotions playing out in her eyes. She found herself ensnared in this moment, her initial shock morphing into a shadowy sensation, an unnamed dread that clawed at her insides. Luna faced her sister, a mischievous grin spreading across her face. Come on, Sophia, she said, her voice laced with playful challenge. Are you really going to just stand there? Sophia hesitated, her eyes darting to Liam, whose body tensed as if ready to spring away at any moment. Luna? This is exhilarating, Luna interjected, moving him closer. It was meant to be an adventure. Release your grip just this once. Luna's fingers brushed against Sophia's arm, and in that fleeting moment Sophia's defenses shattered. She took a cautious step forward, her movements hesitant at first. But as the music, whether real or conjured in her mind, enveloped her, she began to sway, her body echoing Luna's every motion. Liam stood frozen, his breath hitching, his heart racing wildly within his chest. The sisters glided through the shadows, their bodies intertwining in a dance that was both instinctive and laced with an unspoken tension. Luna's fingers curled around Sophia's waist, drawing her in with an undeniable pull, and Sophia surrendered to the moment. As their lips collided, the world around them faded into oblivion. A slow, deliberate kiss ignited a surge of electricity within Liam, awakening every nerve in his body. He was entranced, his thoughts spiraling as the two women he had known forever began to shift and change right before him. As they separated, a triumphant smile spread across Luna's face. Do you see it now? Her voice, a delicate whisper yet resolute, cut through the air. There's nothing to fear. Sophia's cheeks burned with a fierce blush, her breath quick and shallow, yet within her eyes flickered a glimmer of the wild, an untamed spirit yearning to break free. Luna pivoted to face Liam, each movement measured and intentional as she started to unfasten her blouse. The fabric cascaded from her shoulders, unveiling a lace bralette that embraced her form like a second skin, whispering secrets of allure and intimacy. Sophia mirrored the action, her hands quivering ever so slightly as she slowly unfastened the buttons of her shirt. Liam's heart raced, his eyes darting between them as they discarded their garments, unveiling lingerie that was both audacious and exquisite. Luna moved in, her hips swaying with a captivating grace as she knelt before him. "Your turn," she whispered, her fingers gliding softly along his jawline. Liam's breath caught in his throat, his body coiling with anticipation, as Luna drew closer, her lips tantalizingly grazing his. The kiss began as a gentle whisper, a hesitant brush of lips, but soon it ignited into a fervent embrace, her fingers gliding down to rest against his chest. Sophia's heart pounded in her chest as she drew nearer, her hand gently settling on Liam's shoulder. She leaned down, her lips brushing against his in a kiss that lingered, each movement intentional, igniting a shiver that coursed down his spine. Luna's hands descended slowly, her fingers grazing the edge of his waistband, igniting a spark of tension in the air. "Let's uncover the secrets we've overlooked," she murmured, her voice a sultry whisper that sent shivers down the spine. Liam's hands tightened into fists, a storm of conflicting emotions raging within him. He yearned to halt this, to shove them away, yet his body betrayed him, responding to their touch in ways he could not command. Luna's fingers danced over the button of his pants, each movement slow and purposeful, charged with anticipation. As she drew them down, Sophia's breath hitched in her throat. "Wow," Sophia breathed, her voice a mere whisper, realizing Luna had spoken the truth. Luna chuckled quietly, her eyes sparkling with a playful glint. "I warned you." Liam's cheeks ignited with heat, his eyes darting to Sophia, who was fixed on him with a blend of disbelief and an unnameable emotion that sent a shiver through his core. Luna leaned in closer, her lips grazing his ear, sending a shiver down his spine. "Now it's your turn to reveal your true potential," she whispered, her voice dripping with allure. Liam hesitated, his heart pounding in his chest, uncertainty swirling in his mind. He was paralyzed, caught in the magnetic pull of their intense gaze, unable to break free or find the words to respond. Luna's hand glided over his thigh, her touch delicate yet demanding. "Go on," she urged, her voice a gentle yet unwavering command. Liam's breath caught in his throat, his heart racing wildly within his chest. With a heavy heart and a sense of dread, he lowered his hand, each movement fraught with hesitation, his fingers quivering as they inched forward. The sisters stood transfixed, their eyes laden with unspoken fears, their breaths barely escaping their lips. Luna's smile blossomed, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of victory. "There you go," she murmured, her voice a gentle whisper, yet tinged with a sense of approval that hung in the air like a promise. Sophia's cheeks burned with a vivid flush, her chest heaving with each quickened, shallow breath. Never in her wildest dreams had she envisioned finding herself in a predicament like this. Yet, in this moment, she found herself unable to tear her gaze away. The light enveloped them, a warm embrace that caressed their skin, while shadows flickered and swirled, alive with the rhythm of their every breath. Liam's breath caught in his throat, his hand quivering as he inched it forward. The sisters' unwavering, piercing stares locked onto him. Luna's lips curled into a sly smile, her eyes sparkling with mischief and a shadow of something more sinister that sent a shiver through Liam's core. She advanced, each step measured and purposeful, reminiscent of a predator closing in on its unsuspecting prey. Her bare feet glided silently over the carpet, yet the very air crackled with the intensity of her presence. She knelt before him, her gaze locked onto his, fingers delicately poised on his knees. "Don't stop," she murmured, her voice low and velvety, a sound that enveloped him like a warm embrace, igniting a fire within him that he couldn't resist. "Allow us to observe you." Sophia paused, her eyes darting between Luna and Liam, uncertainty swirling within her. A flicker of uncertainty danced in her eyes, a hesitation that whispered of the moral boundaries she was daring to cross. As she exhaled slowly, a wave of tension melted away from her shoulders. With a newfound sense of ease, she stepped forward, joining Luna on the floor. Her movements lacked the confidence of her sisters, yet a quiet resolve radiated from her as she knelt beside him. Her hands trembled ever so slightly as she reached out to touch Liam's thigh, a silent testament to her inner strength. Liam's breath caught in his throat, his body tensing at their caress. He yearned to voice his thoughts, to raise an objection, yet the words remained trapped in his throat, ensnared in a web of desire and confusion that held him captive. His mind spun in a tempest of clashing emotions, shame, curiosity, and an urgent primal need that clawed at him, impossible to resist. Luna's hands glided upward, her fingers grazing his as he shifted, a silent connection sparking between them. Her eyes flickered upward, a mischievous smile playing on her lips. "You're doing so well," she said, her voice airy, yet her eyes bore into him with a weighty purpose. Sophia's hand found Luna's, the initial touch hesitant yet gradually transforming into a confident grip as she echoed her sister's unwavering support. As they moved in unison, their hands intertwined, breaths intertwined, they leaned